Amazon's Nick DeJesus, unpaid CTO of Black Tech Pipeline. Give it up for Nick. Nick to the stage.
Hey,
Beep, 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 beep.
I got my AWS t-shirt. I was hassling him for that yesterday. So hold on, let me get set up here. There's a HDMI. All right, just give me 1 sec. All right, and I don't know what these lines are. I just put those there. My bad. Can y'all can see the screen? Everything looks okay? All right, cool, great. Hello, everybody. I'm really excited to be here. Really excited about this talk. I'm calling it Zero to Shift with AWS Amplify. A little bit about me. My name is Nick DeJesus. I'm an open source maintainer. I made a library called Shopping Cart. It's a Stripe-powered front-end shopping cart library that helps on-ramp you to Stripe checkout. And I am also the CTO of Black Tech Pipeline. And of course, if you've been following me for a while on Twitter, you know that I am the unpaid CTO. But we're going to change that this year, I promise. So the goal of this talk is really to get front-end developers to understand how Amplify can help empower them to ship things faster for themselves and their clients. How many people here identify as a front-end developer? I know I'm kind of copying what Jason said, but yeah, and I feel like a lot of front-end developers are in this space where, you know, they know what they want to do for the front end, but they're kind of trying to figure out what they want to do for the back end to get those full stack experiences. And so I really think Amplify is a great place to start getting more familiar with that. So first, I got to paint a little context. So yeah, I'm CTO of Black Tech Pipeline. My wonderful fiance, Paris Athena on Twitter, she put out this tweet, what does Black Twitter in tech look like? Here, I'll go first, and she uploaded a selfie, and from there built a whole entire community known as Black Tech Twitter. And so from here, she did some recruiting. She kind of harnessed the Black Tech community. A lot of companies were reaching out to her for hiring, and she recruited through her community for 2 years for free. Eventually, it turned out that some of the employers were a little performative, and she wanted to start protecting her community. And so she founded Black Tech Pipeline as a way to hold these employers accountable for their DE&I and practices and stuff like that. So I made some memes with her face. Thank you. So there's 2 business models of Black Tech Pipeline. There is the job board, which is monthly packages. And those packages are like time-based, 1 month to 6 months to a year. You can post up to 10 open roles at a time, and you get marketed to the community of over 70,000 people across social media and the newsletter. And then there's the recruitment part of the business, where Paris does the sourcing for you, and she takes a recruiter's fee for a hire, and she starts a bi-weekly check-in for 90 days to make sure that the employee is happy, safe, and healthy. It's a really good model. However, the problem is recruiting is hard AF. And so there's a lot of reasons why. I mean, one of the biggest problems is that Paris is only one individual. She had over 40 clients she had to source for, and we all know how hard it is to place people and find talent and whatnot. And so we kept getting this question. All of our clients were like, can we source through the database ourselves? And the answer was no. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but the main ones, the entire database of candidates was harnessed on Airtable. And so Airtable is not really sustainable for long-term kind of things like that. Candidates don't have the ability to go back and update their information, so it leads to duplicate entries. And we didn't ask for permission to share identifiable information freely, which we thought was a problem at first, but we actually prefer not to ask for that kind of thing. So we figured, what if we actually built a database ourselves that met the demands of everyone involved? And so all the pieces were in place, right? We had tons of candidates signed up. We had interested employers who wanted access to those candidates. So we decided on the MVP, which was going to be a searchable database that keeps the candidates anonymous. And we do that to further remove bias. And we wanted a way to streamline the communication between the anonymous candidate and the interested employer. So, and we also wanted a way to enable employer access to the database after they meet us and sign the agreements. We didn't want anyone to just have the ability to make an account and sign in and have access to all that. So we had to put some guards up. And so I decided initially to go with AWS, and a big part of it was that I happen to know a lot of AWS pros. I really like learning things that my friends know. That way I have homies to fall back on if stuff starts going, getting difficult. AWS has many generous free tiers for many services. It's cheaper compared to other services as well, and it's tried and true scalability. I mean, come on, it's Amazon, it's AWS. And so my first attempt at building this platform, I decided to pick up AWS CDK. It's called Cloud Development Kit. CDK helps you define your cloud application resources using familiar programming languages, and I just literally copy and paste that from the docs. I still don't know CDK. This thing was wild. If anybody actually knows CDK, you probably make lots of money. You're like a 1%er just walking among us or something. This was really wild, but I did learn a lot. CDK felt very tedious for me, and so I spent some time learning about the AWS ecosystem and CDK and things. It took me about 2 months to have like some authentication going, some basic form data submission, and this was 2 months like with my free time, my weekends, whatever. And so I was talking about my experiences. I love tweeting about what I'm doing, what I'm building, what I'm learning. And so a friend of mine, and then some on Twitter, he told me, what you did with CDK in 2 months, you could do in a weekend with Amplify. And honestly, that made me feel some type of way. Like I was kind of offended. It made me feel like I was just wasting my time, and I didn't even believe him. That sounded ridiculous, right? And so I decided I was gonna at least give it a shot, because what more can I lose? It's just gonna be a weekend with Amplify. If I don't like it, I can just continue the way I was going, right? Tell me why it took me 2 hours to get to the same exact point that I was at with CDK. So at this point, my mind was blown, I was sold, and I knew that this was the direction that I was gonna continue going. So what actually is Amplify? And so by my own words, Amplify is an abstraction over AWS designed to help front-end and mobile developers ship scalable applications very quickly. And so I'm gonna go over, so Amplify is huge. I mean, AWS is huge, right? So I wanna go over very specifically the things that saved me a lot of time while going through this, while building this platform. And so the 3 biggest things in this order was the GraphQL, which is using AWS AppSync, the Amplify CLI, and some UI components, which is maintained by the Amplify team. So first of all, let me apologize. I really do not like showing code during talks at all, so just bear with me here. This is a GraphQL schema. We have a type called candidate, and within here you could see these like @model, @auth things. These are called directives. And so the significance of these schemas is that you can define all the entities that are part of your application, but also the relationships they have with your authenticated users. So let's take a quicker look at the @auth directive, or just auth directive. Don't go saying after, before everything. So you see I have this rules array, and there's 2 objects in here. The 2 objects, the first object is basically saying that the people who are allowed to do the create, update, delete, and read operations, we're defining them by username. So allow owner is basically saying like the user, the authenticated user, is the one who's going to own this entry in the database. And just FYI, you don't even have to put the operations there. I like defining things explicitly, personally. The next object says allow, but groups instead of owner. And then you define the groups that you want to be able to read that same candidate data. So this is for the employers. You can see that the group we chose is anyone authenticated as employer. They have the ability to read the data that the candidates create. So you're probably like, okay, like big deal. You just define data in your GraphQL schema, like whatever. Like how does that save time? Well, when you run the command amplify init, what happens is it spits out your entire, all of the cases where you would be querying or mutating the backend data. So you get a file called queries.js. It gives you get candidate, list, and list candidates. And then there's mutations, which is the rest of the operations, creating, updating, deleting. Your entire backend is created in minutes. When I saw that, my mind was blown. And so it does like a very like generic initialization, so you just get the generic things, but I wanted to be able, if you remember earlier, I said that I wanted to define owners by username, so I wanted to create a query that fetches by username, and so I used the index, oh my God, what's that thing called? Whatever the index thing is called, I used that, and I created something called a global search index, and that allowed me to create a new query called get candidate by username. And when I ran Amplify push, it updated the file automatically. It's using something called CodeGen. I don't know how many people know about CodeGen, but it's really awesome. So now we're going to move over to the Amplify CLI. And so the Amplify command line interface is a unified tool chain to create, integrate, and manage the AWS cloud services for your app. And so you have this command, Amplify add, and through Amplify add, you have the ability to touch on all of the crucial services that you need to build your application. So Amplify add auth gives you access to IAM permissions, cognito groups, and resource access. By the way, you get way more out of all these commands. I'm only speaking on the things that I actually have experience with. Amplify add function gives you Lambda functions, Lambda triggers, and DynamoDB streams. Storage, whether it's file storage for pictures, videos, whatever, or in our case, it's resumes. And then, or DynamoDB tables if you just need something to throw data at. And then Amplify add API, and you can create both GraphQL or API gateway endpoints. And then, oh, this is really cool. Then you get these environments. So environments are similar to using Git branch, but for your entire backend. So you would use, the same way you would use git checkout B and make like a branch called test, you would use Amplify env checkout test. And so the same way your front end is made with a copy on Git, there's a whole entire backend that's made as a copy to work with it. And so normally your environment workflow would look something like, you know, git checkout main. This is for when you're ready to merge your new branch into the main branch. Git checkout main, git merge test, then Amplify and env checkout main. I sound like a friggin' computer. And then Amplify push again. And that is gonna move everything over from the test environment on the back end, and it'll push it all to wherever you're deploying, which you could host on Amplify as well. And so I'm not gonna lie, I was feeling like Dr. Strange. You know how he does the thing and the whole environment changes and everything's protected, whatever? Yeah, that was me. So UI components, I actually didn't use UI components a lot, but there were specific components that I used that I felt like really saved me time. So there's UI components for pretty much everything you need. There's React, Angular, Vue, and Flutter. And also this includes React Native, by the way. And so there's primitive components, and they're components for layouts, inputs, feedback, navigation. And I just wanted to show off this pagination component real quick. It's very straightforward. You fetch data, and you pass it over to the pagination component. You configure it however you need, and people can search through things as needed. Oh, I messed up there. And then there's connected components. Now this is the time saver. Connected components are actually like integrated with your environment. And so there's connected components for authentication and geolocation. Oh, flies. And so I only use the authentication component. And basically you get this one component, you can drop it right in. It looks just like this. We all know what a pain it is to handle sign in and sign up flows and whatnot. All of this just comes with the component, no problem at all. You can pass it certain attributes. If you want people to sign up with names, emails, phone numbers, they want to use Google or Facebook for authentication, you pass those in. And then the form actually adapts to those attributes that you gave it. And then, so this is a bonus thing that I thought was really cool. So those are the things that really got me going. There's Amplify Studio. And so Amplify Studio is a visual interface that helps you build and ship apps. You can model data, you can manage users, and you can export Figma to code, which sounds really cool. I didn't get to touch that. I think I started Amplify before they even had that as a thing. But Amplify has a really tight integration with Figma. So it would only be fair that if I'm going to talk about Amplify, I should at least talk about some of the frustrations as well. I had a little GIF for this. I don't know where that went. Anyway, so one thing that I found myself feeling like AWS and Amplify are completely different things, where really Amplify is just under the AWS umbrella, but I have been kind of trained to do everything the Amplify way versus the AWS way. And sometimes when you do things directly through the AWS console, it does mess up your Amplify environment. So you got to be really careful about that. And you have to spend some time figuring out the Amplify way of doing things before you do commit to using the AWS console directly. And then documentation, I had GIFs, and I don't know where they went for here, but I think we all know the AWS docs. Oh, there we go. They just randomly popped up. The AWS docs could use some work. Like it's just overwhelming. There's so much to look at, and so the Amplify documentation is a big improvement over the original AWS docs. But sometimes you'll come across issues where you want to solve something and you're Googling for Amplify, but you're getting AWS results. And so I've had to learn. It's taken some time to learn to navigate how to navigate those documents in a way that allows me to be productive. And then the error messages. Again, this is another case where the Amplify errors coming from Amplify are often they give more context. The errors coming from services like DynamoDB, if you're not using Amplify for DynamoDB, like say you're doing it in a Lambda or something, the errors are kind of obscure, and it's hard to figure out what you're going to do there. And so my next slide, I hope this doesn't get taken the wrong way, but I did have an analogy for this, right? And so do we have any Souls fans here? Yeah. Elden Ring. I've been playing that nonstop, Ask Paris. But anyway, what I wanted to say about this was Souls, every single Souls game that's been released, for those who don't know, Souls is known for being very difficult, very painful game. But there's a reason why it's Game of the Year every single year. And I think it's because after your first playthrough is kind of, it's difficult, it's tough, you've got to learn a lot. But every single time you play these games after you beat it the first time, you're basically a god. Like, you're untouchable, everything's easy, you're smooth, you're just cruising along, and you're basically looking for ways to make the game more difficult. And so I look at my experience like that. I spent a lot of time, I'm very new to AWS. I went through AWS. I learned AWS through Amplify, and now I feel so powerful, and I'm actually excited about the next thing I have to build. I don't know what that's going to be, but I cannot wait because of how much I know and I've gone through with this initial experience. Oh, so now we're doing live demo time. So I don't even know how I'm doing on time right now, but I'm going to quickly try to show you all what it's like signing up as an employer. So I have this form here, very basic, nothing special. I'm just going to say the company name is Render, and then Black Tech Pipeline as the website, because that's already there. Nick, DeJesus. So this form under the hood, I'm going to do like plus Render. So this under the hood, normally when you sign up for an application, you have to go through the verification process. You get an email or whatever. So I actually set up a Lambda that completely skips that part. So if you're an employer, it skips the verification process. Oh my God, it actually just logged me in. So I did want to show, off what it would look like initially as an employer, but that didn't end up going through. I guess I already made an account under this name. So I'll just go ahead and show what the search looks like. This is all test data, of course. You can see the candidates are kept anonymous. It says 12 parents relate. You can see some skills that they have. You've got a filter here for the skills or whatever. So you can type JavaScript. And oh, that's not gonna work. I swear to God, all this stuff been working for like the past 5 months, I swear. But anyway, let's say you like this person and they have the right amount of skills and years of experience. You wanna see more details about them. There's supposed to be more information here. Of course, it's test data. You look at you get more details. You see that they're interested in back-end development, finance, and they want a manager role or something. And I want to hire this person, so I hit introduce us. And so these are roles that, oh, let me go back and show that off real quick. So these are roles that you have to create as an employer. These are the roles you want to hire for. So the first thing you do as an employer is create these roles, and then you go to the search function. And after those roles are created, you get to send them directly to these candidates. So let's say, hold on, So let's say I think this person would be a great fit for senior software engineer or a senior architect. You hit submit, and then they get an email. So let's just do that. Let's go into my personal email real quick. If y'all don't mind, just close your eyes for a second. I don't want anything, I don't want too much showing up, but you could see, should be popping up here. Oh, it probably hasn't gone through yet. I think it's the Wi-Fi. Oh, there it is. So ignore this fake company name thing, but it says this company wants to chat. Here's the roles that I sent. Y'all remember seeing me click on senior software engineer, senior architect. And then, are you interested in meeting them? There's a button for yes, I'd love to chat. Not right now, thank you. And it tells you if you hit yes, the employer then gets your contact information and a link to your resume. So I'm gonna click yes, I'd like to chat. And I need to set up a page for this eventually. And so I should be getting another email because I am the candidate and the employer. Yeah, I think it's taking a while because of the Wi-Fi and stuff like that. But yeah, you know what? Just believe me on that one. I promise you it works. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. So if you want to learn more about Amplify, you can just head to the docs, docs.amplify.aws. I also recommend you follow Michael Liendo on Twitter. Don't tell him I said this, but if you have an issue with Amplify and you're stuck, just tweet about it. He will respond. You did not hear that from me. I would also recommend you check out Ali Spittle on dev.to. She's been putting out a lot of content around building full stack apps for all levels with Amplify. And then also, if you want to learn more about Black Tech Pipeline and the recruiting process, if you want to sign up for the talent database, or if you want to recruit through us, feel free to check out our website. You can contact me or Paris through there. So yeah, thank you very much. That's it for my talk.